Welcome back to Reading Java Code. We've completed Module 1, IDEs, and Module 2, file types. We're now going to talk about how to read and how to write our first Hello World program. Now, I'm going to actually do the writing, and you're just going to do the viewing, and I'm going to kind of talk you through what's happening so you'll know what the features are, the elements, and the pieces of a simple Java program. This will be your first introduction to how to read Java code and what it is doing. We'll cover packages, we'll cover a public class, and we will cover the main method with arguments. So I'm going to pause here and I'm going to bring up my NetBeans IDE. Welcome back. I have my NetBeans IDE up and ready to dive into our first program. This is the world famous Hello World program that every beginning developer has to program at least once in their learning process. And typically this Hello World program is used to determine if you've installed your IDE correctly, your development environment is set up correctly. So this is a good barometer, a good test that a lot of developers use when setting up their IDEs. So let's get cracking, let's get into it. So here we go. The first thing we want to do, because we talked about project files, right? We talked about source files and we talked about class files. So here's where I'm going to show you what I mean by creating a project. And actually I think I'm going to do this in Eclipse as well, so you can see the both variations of how to create Hello World in two different IDEs and how to read code. But anyway, here we go. I'm going to do a new project, so I click New Project. It's a Java application that I'm writing, so therefore it's already selected. I click Next. I name it, and you should give it a useful name, and I'm going to call this Hello World because it's the Hello World program. I'll use the default locations, and here is something that's very interesting. This will create that main class that contains that main method. In Eclipse, this is not done. This is something you have to code yourself. So I'm going to click Finish. So it'll bring up the source code in the project. All right, what you see here, if you look over here, here's Hello World. This is what I typed. The default package is Hello World, and this will always be in lowercase. If it's in uppercase, you will get an error. And we will talk more about error messages later, how to read them. And here is the Hello World main Java class. Now, I know I called this a source code. I know I called this a source file. But it is actually a Java class, and it is the main class, as you saw when I created the IDE in the IDE. In the project creation, you saw it say main class. So, like I talked before, you see this little green arrow right here. This signifies that this is the main class or the main source file that needs to be ran to run the program if there were other files. So let's talk a little bit about what's going on over here. What we have here, we have the package, which we see right here. And you can have multiple packages, as I told you, but we won't really go into that. So just know that in NetBeans, these words here that are special words or reserved words will be in blue. And the words that you type will be in black because they're yours. So this is our package. And I'm just going to type something here so you can see it. Sometimes when you're writing a program, you have to import items. So you will see that the word import turns blue because it is a reserved word, and you can import different packages. I won't do that here, but just wanted to show that that is another element that is part of a Java program. Because typically the way Java is right now, or the NetBeans environment is, it doesn't have all the packages or imports, libraries imported that I would need to complete a client server or client database client application. So I would have to import some other items. So here we go. Every Java class has to have a public class in it. Why is it public? Because that way it could be seen outside of its class. If we made this private, hello world would not be seen inside of its own self. So with that said, we got to have public class. And here's the hello world, which we created right here. And I know this looks kind of interesting to you right here. This stands for parameters, arguments at the command line. I'm glad you asked, what does that really mean? Now I'm going to talk a little bit about our main method here. Public static void main. And whenever you use the word static, it will italicize and